Good evening, everyone. My name is Tavia Nyong'o. I'm the curator of the public program here at the Park Avenue Armory. Please come in, take a seat. I have a brief but happy role to play this evening, and that is to introduce the main event, which is an artist talk conversation between Trajal Harrell and Janevski. I'm very, I think that somehow we've had a three-way conversation, at least in my mind, going back at least a decade. So beginning with performances that Trajal did at the MoMA. And of course, the occasion today is Monkey Off My Back, or the Cat's Meow in the Drill Hall. The full bios of both of our interlocutors are in your program. I encourage you to read them. And without any further ado, let me please welcome the main event, Trajal Harrell and Janevski, to speak with us.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you, Tavia, and thank you, Darian, for the invitation. I'm actually really thrilled to be here this afternoon in a conversation with Trajal. We used to be in a conversation all the time, and then formally and informally. Now it's more like on WhatsApp and when we catch each other. So to be again, you know, in this like setting where we are together and it's not just the two of us or some friends, it's really meaningful. And I saw the performance. So I actually realized coming here, I haven't done a pre-performance talk. I've done so many post-performance talks. So I was like, oh, wait, my questions. But I think we will balance, you know, what can you expect? We won't reveal too much. No? What do you think? I'm sure you did more pre-performance talks than I did. No? Okay, so
either.
So let's
this
try.
This might be my first pre-performance. I think this is my first pre-performance talk too.
For sure. So, yeah, so we won't reveal too much, but there are certain things that I think it would be good somehow to lay the ground. And I was thinking, and somehow Tavia and I had the same intuition in a way, to start from the title. Your titles are always long, playful, cryptic, a little bit. So tell us about this one. This one, it took me a while to decode. I don't know if even I haven't decoded yet.
Well, thank you for being here with me, and thank you, Tavia, for the invitation, and thank you all for being here. It's funny because I like these or titles, but they don't operate the way I would like for them to. The first time I did one, I can't remember what it was, but I thought that people would use both titles. Like you would either call it Monkey Off My Back, or you would call it The Cat's Meow. Like that was the idea, that like there were two titles. And but people always call this one Monkey. Like we always nickname the shows, like so everyone like especially within the team, we always refer to it as Monkey. But I think the title, this title came from this idea that it really was the first piece. I think that, like I mean, of course, when I had no money, I didn't write a grant or write a proposal. But the first time, I really didn't have to write anything or propose anything to make this piece. Like I had the space, I had the money, and that was it. I didn't need co-producers. Like I was the choreographer director of the Schauspielhaus Zürich, and it was like, this is your budget, you do what you, and it was like, and it's not even always that way at Schauspielhaus Zürich, I can assure you, but it was something about that particular moment that
was it 21? No, after
it was
COVID,
it was in 21. Yeah, it was in 21. But we knew I knew in 20 already that I was going to do this, and I even knew before because when we have a huge space at Schauspielhaus Zürich, or I'm not there anymore, but they still have, it's kind of like the Armory, it's called the Schiffbau. It's a huge space, and sometimes they cut it in half, but I knew from the beginning when I saw this space that I wanted to do a stadium runway show. It had been my dream to kind of do a show like that with a Mondrian floor. So I knew that was, I said that from the beginning when I visited, and I knew I wanted to do that. So I was waiting to do that, and I didn't have to write a proposal. So for me, this was like the monkey off my back, finally. It was like, woo, the monkey is off my back. I just do what I want to do. And it was like, but I had to problematize that in a way. Like I knew it was not totally true. Of course, I would have to negotiate things, and but it was a luxury. It was a big luxury. It was a big Swiss afforded luxury, or the cat's meow was like this. Is it really as delectable, as tantalizing as you imagine it to be? You know what I mean? Like, well, what comes out of this? Like really, like this. You get the monkey off your back, and do you really get the cat's meow? Do you really want the cat's meow? So it was really this. This was the idea of the title, but I also knew that, of course, it could have it could have other references. And of course, monkey off my back has an addiction reference as well, that people who are trying to get rid of some sort of substance problem, like it's this idea of the monkey off the back. And I knew this was shaded in there somewhere, and I was not dispelling that idea as a kind of way to think about the people who could be in. There is a scene in the piece that somehow gives an allusion to that, and also the cat's meow can also be like, some people refer to the cat's meow as a kind of female figure, a kind of like, a woman who's tantalizing. So there is this kind of model thing going on that we play with. So yeah, I knew that those things were, they were secondary to what I was really doing.
There is a cat's meow for sure in the piece. You will see it. And talking about size, you've been always working with different size, no? Your first piece, Movement Research, was you and the CD player and a very, very long title. And then in 20 Looks or Paris is Burning at Judson, we go
that's
from
the title.
It's another title. That's the title. Another war
yes.
title. Yes, there are many of that. There is the Ghost of the Summer. The Ghost of Montpellier, or but. And there you go from extra small to extra large. Mm-hmm. And then because when I entered the Armory, and this is not revealing a lot, because for those who've been here, and I think many of you, it's huge. So when you enter in Trajal's piece, it's at the Armory, I was like, oh, wow. It was really like, it made such an impression of me. And then I was remembering how when you did a residency at MoMA, which is a decade ago, and for the kind of culmination of your residency, which was a commission in the mood of Frankie, you decided to do it at 10 and 11:30 p.m. in this corridor, in this hallway, between the elevator and the escalator. And you said it was a contained culmination. So here, nothing was contained. I entered, and nothing was contained. And I saw you performing, I think, a lot of time here in Europe, but I never seen you performing in such a big space. So what does this, because this scale was new for you. You always wanted it, but not new? Yeah, kind of. So what is this scale meant to you? How did you work with the scale?
I think it is contextualized in this kind of like, I was the choreographer director at German State Theater, and that's what they do, is they do these big productions. I mean, that's the same system that produced Pina Bausch, William Forsythe. This is what they do, is big sets, and I think they do these kind of big productions. I think that it went back to really. I was an usher at BAM. That was my first job in New York. And yeah. And I remember, because I would see shows like sometimes, like let's say at Forsyth for 2 weeks, I would see them 10 times. And because they knew I wanted to be a choreographer, they would let me work in the orchestra so that I could actually see the performance. Because you can't usher and be outside. So they were really kind to me. They were really like, you have to see it. They were the women. They were like, and when we went back to BAM, it's a side note. We went back to BAM in 23. Like the ushers were like so excited. It was like they were so. It was really meaningful and touching. But I think that like that was that early training of knowing like, yeah, what can you do with this? And I didn't do it in the normal way. Like I think like usually there's this big set and like, someone's in a shift bow and they have this huge thing. Like in a way, I still did it my way. You know what I mean? Like I did the stadium runway show. Like it's for a big runway show, it's not that big. You know what I mean? Like it's big, but it's not that big. And it was, for me, it was it was a chance to work on an extra large scale and to do something as big as I want to do. But it was a lot also about symmetry. Like I knew how to play with it in a certain way. The way you'll see how the set is, it's kind of doubled in a certain type of way. And there's a way, I should say that the thing that, maybe this is giving something away, but okay, you came to the talk, you want to know these things, right? Is that it's true that I made the piece and it was not working. Like I had all the parts and it just
Where,
was.
in Zurich?
Yeah, before the premiere, and it just was not working. And then I realized that someone had to always be walking around the space. And once I figured that out, it clicked. It's like it worked. Because there was something about that made the space both defined like what the space was in terms of its like scale, like this is a big space that we walk around, but it also made it very intimate in a certain type of way because you see it's a track, that goes around and around. So I think it's I'm not a kind of artist who only wants to work on this scale, and I think this scale is interesting when you can, of course, invite more people in, but not just for the sake of spectacle. I'm not, there has to be a way to produce different kinds of meanings.
But it is very you, the piece, and when there is, and I wanted to ask exactly about this because, but I wasn't sure would we reveal too much, but about the walking situation, and there are so many things that the clothes, the music, some of the dancers, the themes, but I remember when I read the first time about the piece. Because, in these descriptions on the website is always mentioned like the Declaration of Independence. And so I was like really intrigued, because you do work with the past, with history, you talk about like the fictional archiving, you have these speculating choreographies about what would happen if the voguing scene would have come to the downtown and met Judson and the other way around. We worked together for 3 years, like on your moment when you were like researching Hijikata and Buto, and it's really far away from reconstruction, reperformance. It's really like deconstructing, reimagining, dragging, fabulating. And so I was very curious what would the Declaration of Independence mean? And then it's interesting because it's what I found, again, I feel, you were talking a lot like voguing Hijikata. So the way they're using the costumes, for example, there's always like you're putting them on the body, you're not wearing them because this distance between the costume and the body is where things are happening. But here I felt that the Declaration of Independence was just like kind of a trigger to go into an open space of togetherness, of joy, of sorrow, or like, wow, let's just do it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I think I forgot to mention that in this idea of getting this monkey off my back, I had no theme. I didn't have a theme. I just went into it's the first time, I don't know if I just started making, and I just put things together. I didn't have to make sense. I was like, I'm not gonna make this logical. I mean, this is like, I'm just talking about in the process, but when I was making the material, I just made stuff. And it was that way with the Declaration of Independence. Like, I was not like, okay, I want to make a statement about the Declaration of Independence. It was more that my family, the holiday that we celebrate together when everyone comes home to this town where we're from in Georgia, for whatever reason, it's not Christmas, it's 4th of July.
not Thanksgiving?
It's not Thanksgiving, it's 4th of July. That is our family get-together reunion. And I don't know, there's something about that year of 21, I decided to read I was like, why did I read this? You know? And I thought it was super beautiful. I was so touched by I thought the writing was so good, so brave, so like these people were really putting their heads on the line with this piece of writing and really saying to the king, okay, this is not good. We don't approve of this. We know you're going to kill us for writing this, but we're going to sign it. Of course, in knowing that, we know that it was flawed, that they were flawed, that this beautiful writing and testament did not include everybody, that they were leaving a lot of people out. So it was like, but I thought, let's read it together. Anyway, what happens if we read it together? And it just happened that when we were reading it together, like, it brought us somewhere, you know what I mean? It brought us somewhere, and I started thinking about the right that women had to vote, and I just was thinking about all those things, and we just did it, but we didn't make sense. We were not, that's what I mean, like what you're saying, in a way, like we just went for it because we didn't have to make sense, you know? I think now, of course, no, I'm saying now people may read something else into that, but it was not this way in 21.
Oh, yeah, you told me at the premiere 2 days ago, you told me that many people think you did it for this moment or some kind of a response to this moment. Not, you know, this moment needs many responses, but there are many moments that needed responses. So it is, as I said, I was, because, you know, there are many examples in Catherine Dana, Dominique Baguet. You do work with the past. Past is your material. You take it and you, I was, you know, rereading and preparing for today, and so I read Tavia's text when Trajal did his residency at MoMA. And he did a piece called The Practice, which was like an open studio, basically, and which was such an interesting experiment because it was, again, being together and trying things out, and without, you know, thinking about the context of the museum. Really, it has to be fabulous or finished, or like of the premiere, it was like revealing somehow the process. And then Tavia was invited to react, and then you said something, it doesn't need to be true, it doesn't need to be false, it's becoming fabulous in a way. It was also referring to Vaginal Davis. And I think there is something so fabulous in this piece, which is often there in your pieces, but here as you're let yourself. And that I connected that with the music, because the music is always present. And I forgot who said once that with your playlist and so on, there is this feeling like a teenager in the room, like playing music. And here, these two things together, because you are like, you're letting it go with the music, I felt very special, I have to say. It's almost, because there are many things you said, the runaway, you did it, you know, they're like the way you're changing the clothes, you're introducing maybe more shoes this time.
First time I did shoes.
Shoes, first time, yeah. But there was, you know, there was the runaway walk. There was some of the dancers you've been working for a long time, and you see when they have these duets, then there is a solo. It just came to my mind today while I was thinking that I saw it as a kind of a free, I don't know, survey?
A free what?
Survey. No, I wouldn't say the word retrospective. But you're of course you are always building on what you do, you know, there is always an addition and evolution, but here there is this moment of, I think Deborah Levine in her text said, it's a virile joy.
I think, you know, I think it really, I can't stress enough, it really comes from this idea that I didn't have to prove anything. I didn't need the piece to tour. I mean, there's often a lot of pressure on the work because you have to convince people to invest in the work. The work, because they've invested in the work and the company's invested in the work needs to tour because we all need to have income from the work. So, you know, you feel this pressure, but this one, it was not that. You know, and I understood, and it was a lot of money to have to make a production, and yet I didn't have to be totally accountable for it in the future. And I think that created a certain kind of space for me to, just to like be, free. But what does that mean? I understood that this freedom is contextualized, is privileged. It was like, it was happening in Zürich, Switzerland. I understood all of that, but it is something very special. I don't know if I will have that kind of possibility again. I don't know. It was a very particular moment. Maybe it had to do with COVID, because of course the Schauspielhaus put pressure on me too. It's not like they did not sometimes put pressure. But for that moment, it was nothing. It was like, do your thing. We just did it. And I think you feel that in the piece. You feel like we stopped making sense, and somehow it's contagious. And it's rare that an artist, it is rare. I'm not. And sometimes those pressures of those are self-imposed. But it was really, I have to say, it was really special. And I take it to note, like, this kind of opportunity is rare.
And how was bringing the piece to New York? Because New York is somehow where you started. You live mainly in Europe. You come often. You tour. But this is the third time you're performing it tonight. But what's the feeling of bringing it here?
Well, it was a dream.
The country of declaration.
It was a dream to bring it here from the very beginning, because there is, I won't say the specific things, but it is there's a section that's really inspired by my time in New York, being a kid here, and like the people I saw in the East Village in the 90s, and like, the late 90s, very late 90s, 98, 99, like just like impressed this little, guy. And so it had and of course there is this declaration in it that was also American, but there's something very, I don't know, all of my work is kind of very American, but I never dreamed, it was a dream, and I knew it was my biggest piece. It's a very expensive piece to bring. So Michael Lonergan, I don't know if he's here, but when we started talking about me doing something at the Armory, I was like, I remember going into the meeting thinking, okay, I gotta get him to do Monkey, because he's the only one who can do this. Really, they're the only people who can do this. And he was not convinced, let's say. He was talking about other things. And then he came to see some things. No, I can't remember if he came. No, he came to see some things, and we were still talking. And then it just so happened that Monkey was gonna play in Zurich the last time, and he came, and he came right at the show. He said, "Yes, we're gonna do it." So it was really like, I knew it had to come here. I just knew I wanted it so badly, because it just feels like it needed
sense.
to be here.
Yeah.
It's so influenced by my time here, and it's very direct. Like the influences.
But that's what I'm saying. Survey. I can see the influences. I can see so many pieces happening there.
No. It's like you say with the dress. This starts in Argentina. The piece we worked on where I start to hold the costumes on my body, which is a big breakthrough for me. There are things I took from the Ghost of Montpellier meets the Samurai. Two scenes that I took and redid. So yeah, it is this kind of remix or rethinking and painting things that I'd done before better, or putting them in different ways, and yeah.
And as I said, the music is so. Say.
No, but the music, I have to say, but the key to the key to this music, one of the keys is that it's mixed by I worked with the sound designer Ozma Maroff, who's incredible. She did an incredible job. I could not do that on my own. Like, I can pick out, like she always, we work on another project soon, and she says, you're incredibly good at picking out things. Like, I can pick out things, but you'll see tonight, the way she weaves those things is beyond my abilities. And maybe you know her, she works a lot with Wu Sang. She's part of Moved by the Motion, so she does all of their music. She's also a DJ, but she did an incredible job, I think.
And can you talk more maybe about, because, this is also not revealing a lot, because the clothes and the change of clothes, these different silhouettes, the fabrics. There is a lot going on in the piece.
I don't know. Again, I did not. I mean, I had a big costume budget. I was buying things for like a year and a half. I had enough money that I could buy shoes. You know, it was like it was also COVID, so I was shopping a lot online, and I was just buying things, and I just, you know, and it's like that. It's like I had a lot of things. And then when the rehearsals start, they bring in the racks, you know, with all the stuff, because at the Schauspiel Zürich, you know, you have a department and they take care of everything. I ship it to them, and they take care of it. It just wheels itself in, and then I have it there to work with. And I don't have this now, but I did for 5 years. And it was great. You know, it really, I was not, I mean, it sounds crazy, but I was not trying to make sense. I liked it, I put it on. Okay, try it on there. Okay, go. You know, it was like this. I was not thinking too much about things. Of course, I was aesthetically like, oh, do I like it? Oh, you know, I want different things. But I was not, I mean, there is one particular apparatus of the costumes that came from a Brazilian artist, that a friend who we make in Brazil, that I think really heightened the piece. You'll see them. They're called confortablas. But and I got those from her in Brazil. I hope she's she must be credited. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, it sounds like, to tell you, I wish I could tell you like there was some deep something behind it, but it was not. You know, I was just buying things I liked. You know, it really was like that. Like, you know, you never may have the chance to do this. You know what I mean? Like, really, like, it was like, okay, you have a big German state theater budget, and a German state theater budget in Switzerland. Okay, so that's double the situation, you know? So you know, you have a big and also you have the other thing to your notion is, and the set designer is here, actually, Eric Flatmo. It's my longest collaborator. Started with me year 2004. We did a piece at Dance Space Project called Notes on Less Than Zero, based on a Bret Easton Ellis. And it's the first time we were using the runway. We have to make that piece again. I was thinking we should bring it back. But the big thing that I did, usually in the German state theater system, the set is prominent. You know, like Pina, like the big set she had. This is the big thing. They're good. They have workshops. That's all they do is, like, they're scheduled to make these big sets. And I come in and I turn the budgets around. I give them more money to costumes than sets. And this is like, this was very difficult for them to deal with. And of course, we know, you know, the number of women to men in the costume department is not the same as the number of women to men in the sets department, right? And so the women in the costume department, they're like finally someone is saying that our work is important. So they were so, I mean, they were so behind me all those years. They were so like, because really, like, costumes, like, okay, they have costumes, but they don't, you know, you spend the money on the architecture, you spend the money on the set. And here, you will see, okay, we spent some money on the art. I did use it, and they were happy. Like, this was the first time they were happy with what I did, because they could see that it was like I was doing a set. You know what I mean? The floor, we did this Mondrian floor, and we have couches, and you know what I mean? It had a kind of it had a kind of, it had something that it was not me doing my costumes and just like, you know.
Piano benches.
A piano bench, exactly. You know, so it also united the kind of, the house a bit. This is when the house kind of got behind me. And it's a very, we don't have this system. I mean, maybe Broadway houses are a little bit like this, but not really, because you don't have an ensemble in the house. But in these houses, the politics is very interesting, because artistic directors and people like me, we come and go, but the technical people generally stay. You know, it's a lifetime job for them. It's their house. And it took me a while to understand, because I was like, I don't care what these people think. Like, the artistic director said I can do it. Why do I care if they're behind me? They just do their jobs, right? But I learned that when they understand what you do and they believe in it, it's a beautiful sense of being in this house. It really is a house. It's like a voguing house, but it's a, you know, it's a theater house. It's a house of family. You really, this theater family, and you feel it, and that humbled me to respect them and to really realize that they are part of the work, and they build this work, they put time into it, and they want to understand it. And so the costumes were, yeah, I mean, I tried to balance it as much as I did, but part of it was, again, freewheeling. I had the money. I was just like, okay, I like that.
Can you say also then something about the floor? I know it's also
yeah.
but
I mean,
I know this is the first thing that, you know, you will encounter. So
Yeah,
I think they hear it from you.
I don't know. Eric tells me, I don't know what year it was. I realized that it would be incredible to make a Mondrian dance floor. I saw that, I think it was, I saw a picture of the Yves Saint Laurent dress, the dress he did for a Mondrian, and it just, I don't know, clicked. I was like, Marley, dance floor, lines,
But
runway.
grid?
Huh?
Grid?
Yeah, grid, yeah, the whole thing, modern, yeah. But I needed a lot of money to do it. So I think I told Eric, and we didn't have the money to do it for a long time. And I said, don't you tell anyone this idea, to keep it a secret, because we want to be the people to do it. How long did we keep that a secret? 20 years? Wow, yeah. I was serious about that thing. I was very serious about it. And then, of course, when I got to Schauspiel House, I knew I had the budget to do it. I said, okay, we're going to do this runway show. We're going to have a Mondrian floor. But I was not like the Mondrian floor. All I had to have was lines and grids so we could walk on the runway.
But you know, when you see all these amazing dancers walking in these amazing costumes and, you know, all this happening, leading the, like, again, not to reveal too much, happening on the Mondrian floor, it creates an interesting tension.
Of course, but,
you know?
but I was not, but I tell you, but I was not like, I knew that it would produce things, but I was, for the first time, I was not interested in myself trying to excavate them or trying to highlight them. I was like, okay, I want a Mondrian floor. Okay, I want these 6 Jonathan Anderson dresses. Okay, I want, you know, it was like this. I was like, for the first time, I didn't have to explain. I did not have to defend. I was like, I was gonna try that to the best of my ability to see what that would produce.
But also because you have so much accumulated experience.
Yeah.
That's when you can do it, I think, in that way.
I mean, that's why I talk about this a lot, because I talk about Kathy's show blew my mind. I told her Sigmar Polka show.
Kathy Holbrecht at
MoMA,
Sigmar
who
Polka
was the
show.
person who really helped us do this project that we did at MoMA. And I always think about Polka because I love his work, because he's able to just like go for it on so many different ways. And I think I was also thinking about Polka a bit, like, just, you know, you can do it. You know, go for it. Be bad, be kind, be cheerful, be depressed, just go for it. You know, don't hold back now. Yeah.
But, you know, you went there, but the costumes are so present from the beginning, you know. I think the first work of yours that I saw when I moved to New York in 2000, when it was more than 10 years ago, almost 15, it was Small.
Yeah.
And in Small, you're walking a runway and you are changing costumes, you're changing, you know, body positions. So there is something about fashion and about costumes that's been there in your work from the very beginning, and music.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
that's kind of a grammar of a language
yes.
that you created.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, it. You know, I don't know. I mean, I realized that, you know, like at a certain point. I mean, this is the story that I went to Voguing Ball and fashion show around the same time in '99, and like I thought, okay, now this is where the postmodern dance it went to, because I thought everything I was seeing postmodernism at the time was like, at downtown was like people
running and walking.
No. At that point, no. In 98, 99, everyone was doing Cunningham and Trisha Brown, like, but very anatomical. Like they were all taking Susan Klein class, and everything was heels to sit bones, and like, you know, everything was anatomically correct, and like la la. It was Trisha's late balletic, like where she becomes very balletic. It was not like so that's what I remember. What happened to Judson? I was like, what happened to Judson? And it was not there. And then I go to the voguing balls and to the fashion show, and I was like, oh, that's where the walking is. So this was, you know, so again, I turned it around, and my mother had always had a strong affection for clothing. She was always taking me shopping with her since I was a little boy. And so, and also because of my studies in feminist studies, I understood very well that clothing as material culture could say something, could have something to say about our identities, about culture, about history. And then in fact, that had been relegated in some ways to this domestic sphere of women, so it wasn't as important as like politics or history or architecture. So I wanted to flip that script, of course, and I was doing that a lot in my work, was the emphasis on the clothes. But you know, at first when I was doing that here in New York, everyone was like, no way, you cannot do that. Like they were like, no, you cannot look at fashion, it's luxury. And I was like, no. I was like, fashion is not, brands might be luxury, but fashion is a way of thinking about like how we use clothing to cover our bodies and how we move through the world and how it affects our behavior and our physicality and our behavior, physicality, philosophies, whatever. And so I had to really fight for that at the time in dance, because people were not, like, fashion was a no-no, you know? And I still, like, I don't, like, I get wary with people, because that word, because people use it in a prejudicial way sometimes to, like, minimize or diminish people's thinking, because they think, oh, fashion is superficial, you know? So I teeter, to be honestly, between, like, being like, no, you know, that's a very sexist, like, way of thinking, and a very, like, pejorative way and very small way of thinking about what fashion is, and sometimes being like not wanting to be like caught up in that debate, so I want to distance myself from it. So I do both strategies, to be quite honest with you. But in the end of the day, I'm gonna try and honor, you know, as Alice Walker says, in search of our mother's gardens, and I think that, you know, my mother took me there, and yeah, I will always like clothing and what it, and as RuPaul said, everybody today got up and put on drag.
And your mom is coming on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, should I tell the stories?
Yes, I think it's...
My mother has never seen my work or seen me dance. And to be quite frank with you, it's very bittersweet for me, because we had this firewall, and yeah, she only cared about if I was healthy, if I was happy, and if I could pay my rent. That was it. And I totally remember her, because finally, I was on the cover of Dance magazine. I remember, like, because I never thought...
Dancer of the Year?
Yeah, but Dancer of the Year, Ton's magazine, that was way, like, not happening for her. Like, she didn't really... But I thought Dance magazine, okay, like, she'll see me on the cover of Dance magazine, and she'll be like, wow, she'll understand a bit about what I'm doing. And she was just like, okay, but I see you here. You know, she was like, magazine, you're here. Like, the difference is I care about you here. So I was like, okay. And but I love this firewall, because I never had this sense of pressure from my mom. But of course, my mom is getting older, 85, and she feels that it's her chance to see it, what I do, and so it's bittersweet for me. I would have preferred the firewall, but she's coming. Yeah, she's.
But you know, I think that your mother is part of your, like, circuit of references and influences a lot, because when you meet Trajal, you're living in Europe, like, you're based in Europe, but then when you come here, you go to Georgia even for a day or two.
But I also live in Georgia, you just don't know it. I live between, I think, yeah, I'm there more than you think. I just don't, I don't have, anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, you're based, you don't live in New York. This is what I was saying.
Not anymore.
Yeah,
No,
so, you know, so I feel that, you know, we were talking about Vogue and voguing and the ballrooms and fashion and Judson on its way or not, and Buto, and you know, there are all these like references that you're putting together in really your own way. But I feel that your mom is also definitely part of it.
Yeah, I think my mom definitely gave me this affection for clothing, but it was really her parents that gave me a lot, because my grandfather always was singing the blues on the porch when I came home from school. I thought everybody's grandparents sung the blues on the porch. So when I read blues people in college and I was reading this, I was like, oh, that was my life, you know what I mean? Like my grandfather was always on the porch. Every afternoon I come home from school, he's there humming and, you know. And we used to do this in the early work. I sung a bit in the early work, and my grandmother was always, you know, saying things in this way, this poetry, like this poetic way, like now I can't think of something she would say, like, you know, like the one I thought the other day, they used to say like, giants go home at the end of the night with the same sad smile as the little ones. You know,
Beautiful
it's like,
title.
you know, yeah, exactly, but you know, they were saying, you know, everybody leaves this world, big people leave this world, this was like the little ones. We all leave with a little sadness, you know what I mean? And, you know, like, they would always be saying these sayings, or like, you know, time brings on a change, you know, like, or, I don't know, like, don't worry about when you die, because I'm gonna be across the river waiting for you. Don't worry, I'm gonna be waiting for you. You know, like all these, I had all of this kind of language, like as a kid, coming to me in this kind of poetry, and I think that had a huge influence on me. I think this had such an influence on who I'm becoming an artist. I think those two people, like sitting on because I was a little boy, and I would come home, and my mother would maybe be finishing work, but I would come home, they would already be on the porch on the rocking chairs, and I would come sit with them and listen to them and talk, and my grandfather's sitting there singing and da-da-da-da-da. And I didn't understand, you know, it's like when you have a reflection of something when you get older and you realize that it's kind of like there's something very special about it. But it gave me a certain sense, we're in America, but the language of the South is really beautiful, you know, the poetry, the way they speak, you know, the accents, you know, and all of this. And this gave me a lot, yeah. But these are my mother's parents.
Do I have time for one more question before we open to the audience? I didn't, Darian, we're looking at you, yes. I wanted also, talking, you know, about closeness and, you know, relationship. There are some of the performers that you've been working with them for a long time. I mean, Andre is now the senior director of rehearsal, but he's there, Thibaut, Pearl, and they just almost, they know the language, they know the movement so well. They're like flying on the Mondrian stage. Can you say maybe about this relationship of working with some of, I mean, with three of them at least for such a long time?
Yeah, Pearl. You'll see her tonight. She's the one I've worked with the longest, from 2008. So we've been together 17 years. Then Andre Vidlar, who's the rehearsal director on Monkey, comes in 2010. He, Thibaut, and another guy named Stephen Thompson.
Stephen, yeah.
Yeah, we did Antigone Senior together. So there's been 15 years there. Yeah, I mean, it's really, you know, the work is theirs too, and I couldn't have made this work without these people. Like, they're very important to it, and they have a certain, we understand the language, we've developed a style together. It's true. Like, there is a a style. It took years to. I wouldn't say that monkey is the best example of the style, but some of you who probably saw Cone concert, this is like really like the style we're known for, this way of moving, let's say.
But there are moments in the monkey.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
There, I mean,
See.
the runway. I mean, this idea of the runway as our signature is for sure. Monkey is the runway show. I mean, it is a runway show. It's not the runway stands for something else. Like in some of the shows, like if you saw Maggie the Cat, the runway stands for something else. It's a way to move through something, or it's the house.
The South.
The house, yes, the South. But here, the runway is a runway. It is a runway, you know. So this runway movement is there, which is different than this development of like this mixture between runway and voguing that you see that comes in the Cone concert. No, but they're very people that yeah. I mean, you're lucky. I'm lucky as a. I know some choreographers who haven't been able to have those long-term relationships and to be able to, and it helps you to be able to build work. And we just did a project where we made work really fast. It was the opposite of this. I want to make little pieces.
Can you say something about that project, because it's
Yeah.
also very interesting?
Because we start the beginning of a period, which is my research on relationship between Butoh and early modern dance. And this begins with Anna and the project that we did in 2012. And then I want to end this period. So after all this, making this big work at the Schauspielhaus, I want to make little pieces, little gallery pieces that could be shown in a lot of different kinds of contexts. Not big like this, very little things. And so I convinced 2 dance festivals to allow us to have rehearsal and performance space in the festivals. And we would make things and show them as process art. Like we make something 5 days and we start showing it. So this was kind of crazy, actually. And I made 5 things. We have some exhibition materials, we have some film material. And I actually made 5 things in this period, but this was possible because we know each other really well, and there were 8 of us in this project. Monkey has 17 people, but I think, yeah, everyone that's in Asbestos is on stage here. That project's called Welcome to Asbestos Hall, and then the stuff that came out of it was called The Collection, and we just premiered it for the first time as a collection to open Festival de Tonne in Paris. But they're just, they know what to do. They understand, But the funny thing is, the Holland Festival made a documentary about this project. The Holland Festival. And I just saw the first draft of the festival. I look so tired. You see my eyes. It's like you see me. I'm just like talking. It's like you see, It was, yeah, I look tired, but we did it, we did it and we worked together.
It was in a very short period of time.
It was a very short period of time. I mean, that's what I said, some things we worked on for 5 days and then we started showing it. And then we'd have to start working on the next thing, so the next thing would have to be shown in 7 days. And it's, we were like, it was kind of crazy, but it worked in the end. And I think I'm very proud of the work because it's really, someone said it's the excess of the small. And I thought it was really beautiful. Like, it's so delicate. These pieces are really, and there's something, I could not have made it in this system of the state theater because there's no place for that. You have to perpetuate the theater, the 600-seat theater. You have to have work for it. So there isn't a space for these little pieces that can be for like 50 people or 60 people or 100 people, but they're so wonderful. But I would not have been able to do that without these group of people because they're just, I always say for me, I remember, I don't know if she's here, is Vicky Schick here? Okay. Do you know who Vicky Schick is? She's like one of these legendary downtown dancers, and people loved Vicky because she was so unassuming and perfectly, the dance was overshadowed. Vicky subsumed her personality beneath the dance, I think Vicky's a Trisha dancer in the old days, yeah. I did not, I respected Vicky a lot, but I did not want my dancers to be like Vicky Schick, okay? I was like, I want people who want to be seen. I want show ponies. One of my first pieces was called Show Pony. We're show-offs, you know? Like, we want to be seen. And I think that all of them have, you know, they have that hunger. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes we're a bit too much, but this quality that they have to have given themselves to the stage and to this life and to touring and building an oeuvre that we've built together, I'm humbled by, and I'm completely, you know, respectful of them, and we keep going. Let's see how long it will last. But I tell you, for sure, there are less years in front of us than behind us.
You never know. The reindeers.
Mother's coming. I think we're tying the bow soon. No,
well, we
joking,
have 10 minutes before, you know, because the performance starts at 7:30, and we need to give you this half an hour before.
Yeah,
so I don't know if there is any question from the audience before Trajal goes on the Mondrian stage. There.
You mean in New York or? But this is not my next work. I made this work in 2021. I've made many works since then.
What's your next work?
But you want to know what is my next work now? Very interesting. Well, I'll answer that in two ways. The next piece in New York actually is a piece at the Met in December. I will show a piece called 5 Friends and 5 Acts, which is part of this piece, these small pieces that I was talking about. And this piece is based on an exhibition about the 5 friends, Jasper Johns, Robert Rauschenberg, Cy Twombly, Merce Cunningham, and John Cage. So you can see that at the Met. But the next new thing I make that I have not made is I make a solo piece called Music. And I go through, very funny, right? I go through the history of music in my work, and I re-choreograph to pieces of music that I want to relate to. Of course, not everything, not the Cone concert, of course, but I choose a number of pieces that I want to re-dance to. That's the next piece. Yeah, music. And I'll tell you also another little question, because I'm very proud of it, actually. That's a solo piece, but the next group piece that I make I also make a group piece in 26, and I will make a piece called Late to the Party, because 5 years ago, guess what? I fell in love with the voice of Nina Simone. I had to tell you this, right? Because I saw Miss Simone in 1998 when I was here in New York, had just come to New York. I saw her play at New Jersey at NJPAC. I saw her live, and she was playing the whole time, and she was like, no, oh, I'm never coming back here, no, I hate the U.S., no. She was talking the whole time. But my parents did not listen to, I didn't grow up listening to Nina Simone. They were Motown people. And Lou Rawls and Teddy Pendergrass, this kind of thing, but no Nina Simone in my house. So Imani Uzuri, who you were here tonight in the show, told me, you have to go see Nina Simone. I knew, okay, I could read who she was, but I didn't know her, and I didn't know the songs. And 5 years ago, I had a friend who kept playing Nina Simone. And finally I was like, I stopped. And I couldn't imagine, I was like, wow, this voice. A year and a half later, guess what? I realized it's the same woman. It took me a year and a half to realize that the woman I'm in love with, voice now, was the same woman I saw play live. She put a spell on me. She put a spell on me. So that's the next group piece, is Late to the Party.
It's kind of perfect ending.
Yeah.
The spell, no? We'll let you go to prepare.
Enjoy the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.